So there's a guy named Edward Fishman who wrote a book called Choke Points. It's really great. It's all about, generally speaking, about economics, but it's about things that people have that can be choke points, whether it's currency or whatever. And it was actually, a lot of it was written about the way the U.S. got Iran into the nuclear deal in 2015. But the Strait of Hormuz is a literal choke point. And from an economics perspective, my concern is that for all of history, it was kept open. Now Iran has recognized the weapon that it actually is, which seems perhaps more potent than whatever nuclear weapon Trump would have you think they were building, or missiles. And in fact, the Iranians, who like to troll Donald Trump on social media, keep talking about the degree to which Americans are frustrated that their prices are going up because of this war. But my worry is that if there's a ceasefire and a deal in 2 weeks, the fact is there is now a tool available. There is now a new choke point in the world, and I'm never sure how that's going to be used in the future.
I think you're wildly correct. So what this war has done is revealed something that was always there, which is that Iran always had this weird kink called the Strait. I think that's weird that you call a kink a strait, but that's fine. And that gave it enormous leverage. See right there. Who would look at that
both
and
a
call
kink
that
and a strait? You're right. Yes, it's a kink.
It's not a strait. Yeah. Anyway,
that's going to make you go viral on social media, the kink of Hormuz.
Do not get me started. You'll get us both in trouble.
Yeah.
Look, the reality is, if Iran had somehow torn a hole in America's defense fabric, it would have created a vulnerability. That's just as expensive as it was there all along, but nobody realized, and now we realize. Which is, at the end of this war, it seems like Iran now has genuine leverage over the rest of the world in a profound way that it was not well understood before.
Right.
And by the way, we've seen this play before. Basically, what we had is we had the United States and the president acting as the 800-pound bully. We're just going to go over there and bully them. I think that they have to give in to us, neglecting the fact that we're in a highly interconnected world and discovering all of a sudden a new American vulnerability, in this case, the Strait of Hormuz. During the trade war, we saw this
literally a word that people didn't know. Like, nobody talked about the Strait of I was there when the deal went through, but in 2015, but nobody talked about the Strait of Hormuz. I told people I went to the Strait of Hormuz, and they're like, I went to like Rehoboth Beach.
Yeah, so it wasn't even in my favorite 6 straits.
That's right. Okay.
Dire Straits, that's a good straits.
Right.
So we saw this play out in the trade war. Remember, the president said, I'm just going to beat up the Chinese. What I'm going to do is levy tremendously high tariffs. He made the same mistake, and he failed to understand the interconnectedness of the world economy. And all of a sudden, we had to start using another new set of words, rare earth minerals. Yep. We went most of our lives not talking about rare earth minerals.
But like economics, we use rare earth minerals every day, our phones, our cars, but we don't think about them.
And the Chinese have a lot of them and we don't, which means that when it comes to trade, they've got us by the short and curlies.
Yeah.
And so actually, the United States today has 2 more substantial geopolitical vulnerabilities that were latent and not being used and possibly not even well understood 2 years ago. So we're actually we've attempted to bully the rest of the world, and we're substantially worse off as a result. And I think there really is a line that connects the two, which is in each of these cases, we're discovering the world is profoundly interconnected. And you might think you're the biggest puppy on town and no one else can hurt you, but if we're really interconnected, actually there's all sorts of choke points and shortages and scarcities and so on that give everyone more leverage than you might otherwise think they have. So I hope the president doesn't decide to go and learn this a 3rd time.
Right, with something that some latent thing that we weren't thinking about, that suddenly becomes a thing. I think he almost started that when he decided he was going to tariff penguins. It's like, who knew that penguins might be a threat to us? So there's a great question we got from Emma, which really speaks to the fundamentals of what economics are, right? It's not numbers and data and graphs. I want to hear what Emma has to say about this.
When will we stop fighting each other in this world over gas, money, greed, and land? When will it stop?
I mean, that could be economics, that could be politics, whatever it is, but it's what we do. We fight each other over limited resources. We want other people's things, or we want more of those things for ourselves.
Wow. Also, just what a beautiful sentiment. And don't you love young people?
Yes. Could they run the world? I would love it. Could they take over soon?
Yeah, that would be great. Look, so let me give Emma actually a couple of very serious answers. So one, when people's lives are on the line, when they're starving, it's pretty easy to see why they'd fight over resources. So that then says economic development is one of the surest ways forward. Once we all have plenty, then the stakes feel a little bit lower. Second, she looks at the world and sees fighting everywhere. And viewed from one angle, she's right. An economist can also look at the world and see the beauty of cooperation everywhere. And he might be right too. So let me tell you, last night I had salmon for dinner. My salmon, I think, might have been caught off the seas of Norway. How did the Norwegian fishermen know that I wanted salmon? I had couscous with my salmon. It was probably grown by an Israeli farmer. How did someone in Israel know that I wanted that? And on it goes. My dinner plate required cooperation from people all around the world. And I don't know how and why they did it. Well, I do, the profit motive. But once you start to understand that economic life fundamentally is about cooperation, that changes things, right? So I walked into the bakery and I bought some bread, and you might say, oh, why are we fighting over the price of bread? We're not. The baker can do something I can't, and he helps me eat. That baker has a son or a daughter who's at the University of Michigan, and I can do something they can't, and I teach them economics. The world is beautiful, and it's based on cooperation. And actually, underneath the facade of it all, of what looks like competition, is this extraordinary degree of cooperation around the world. And this, by the way, I'm now going to bring it back to politics. This is the poverty of Donald Trump's worldview. If you think about the world purely as competition, you think about a fixed pie, if I win, you lose, in which case he wants to go and inflict damage on anyone else. This is Emma's question. Why do we fight? Well, the reason the president does is he thinks if he makes your slice smaller, he gets a bigger slice. But if the world's really about cooperation, together we cook the cake, we bake the pie, we make it bigger. That's, I think, a much more optimistic worldview. Both views are right. Now, let me come back and answer Emma's question one more way. One of the reasons I care so deeply about international trade is once we create this interdependence, where I make your life better off and you make my life better off.
We're less likely to break that chain. We're less likely to want to fight with each other, right? I'm less likely to want to have to, which is weird because we're trying real hard, it seems, to break some of these chains, including with my home country in Canada, right? Where we're fighting with somebody we have no reason to fight with. But the resistance to that fight amongst Canadians and Americans is there. They want to go back to trading with each other and being friends with each other and helping bake that cake together.
Absolutely. How else am I going to get maple syrup on my pancakes apart from hanging out with my friendly Canadians?
That's right.
Right. And so that's why I don't want to bomb Canada, because I like pancakes. And it's actually a serious
point. But your point is valid. Like these are, when you are getting something you like from another country, or they're buying something from you and you're making money off of it, your tendency to want to go to war, and this is all through history, right?
Even more deeply, which is to trade with them. Someone often meets, and we come to see each other as more human. Turns out, Canadians do all sorts of weird stuff, but I've come to meet some of them and actually kind of like them. And that connection, which might have come about through commerce, I went to buy my maple syrup, actually showed us one humanity.